Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party. I'm my buddy Rhett, and just got finished working on the voice analyzer application. And that one, like, I'm pretty sure I'm done with that whole project on next Sunday. So that's going to be nice. Um, I would say that I'm pretty sure this project will never be done, the one I'm working on right now. I can't see why it would end. The only thing I could see causing it to end would be as if I made some sort of um, critical architectural change that just absolutely made it impossible. Like whatever I wanted, like I need a new goal, sort of depend something I really, really want out of this to work doesn't. Um, so, but one thing I did realize is, and I didn't, and I could see why I missed that. Like yesterday, I'm like, how did you miss this? I don't understand how I missed this. But basically, when you do this, right, and you create a visualization, and then, um, I think it's the simplest thing in the world just to be like, okay, now I'm going to change views, and basically I'm going to have a new component. But the Three.js is not, and then when you have a new component, Angular kind of takes care of destroying everything for you and rebuilding everything. Well, if you add like a third party like D3 or Three.js or something along those lines, they aren't necessarily set up like that for that kind of behavior. So, and the thing is that most of those sorts of tools need a direct reference to the DOM element wherever they're supposed to be doing things. So trying to manage that, it's very, very important to manage that. Um, and that was just a big blind spot. I did work once uh, in a application that was very, very visualization heavy, and um, there was a ton of code in there that I was like, I don't understand why this code is here. This is crazy. And in retrospect, now it's very clear to me that a lot of that code was to manage DOM elements, uh, to sort of bridge the gap between Angular's managing DOM elements and the D. It was mostly D3, but they had other things too. D3 managing the same DOM elements. So there's sort of I guess if you think about it, there's sort of three levels, right? There's one where like there's a component and Angular's completely managing the component and all that. Then there's like a DOM element, and usually you don't care. It doesn't matter. And then there's stuff that's inside the DOM element, and then typically it'll be some sort of third party, like a Three.js or D3 or something like that, that handles the items inside of the DOM element. And like literally 99.9% of all the work that needs to be done is in those two things, but there is a slight bit of overlap in the responsibility of creating and deleting components, which then bleeds into creating and deleting DOM elements, which the DOM element is the container of all the work that the third party project is going. So that's just sort of a huge blind spot for me. Now I'm kind of scrambling to try to fix that, and I don't think it's a I think it's something that we can code ourselves out of. I don't think it's something that you have to be like, oh, okay, I should have built that in from the beginning, and now it's too late. But I did recognize, I think it was on Friday or Thursday, that, oh my gosh, this is a foundational change that is going to be quite challenging. So I think what I had figured out, though, like where it led to, and I guess it was just absolutely expected, that in this visualization, um, there was a point where I had a visualization component and I would apply it, and then whenever Angular changed it, I would change the component itself and in there, and that worked. That was fine. But I really don't want to have these references in general, in that I want to move away from that. And um, the reason is because it's extraordinarily difficult to delete things. Um, if and they absolutely, it's impossible to delete them if anything has a reference to it. And probably the easiest way to mitigate that problem is to not store a reference to it, but like store an ID to the thing that you want to reference to. And that's where just like uh, things get weird, and they got weird in a way that I wasn't predicting or expecting. And that's that once I moved to this, I ended up storing the components, but I used the visualization ID as a library. So then inadvertently I ended up deleting the entire visualization instead of just the component. And I do need these to survive longer than I need the component to survive. So that means that I need to build out like an entire scheme, which I've already built out schemes for an entire management scheme, which I've already built out management schemes for things like, I think it's in here, like the camera, I believe, has a whole. Okay, we're on the interfaces. I want to look at the services, and then we'll go to like three in the camera. And so like we have this whole sort of state management scheme with these dictionaries and things like that. And now I'm starting to realize, damn, this looks a lot like NGRX, and not, not specifically from a code perspective, but like the concepts. It's just like, and that was like another thing is that I've tried to build like applications that use state management before, and I've botched them all. I've screwed them all up. And not only that, but I've probably worked at a half a dozen places, like 5 or 6 places that tried to implement them like state management, and it was botched. It was messed up everywhere. Like no one knows what it does, and everyone just quits using it. So um, it's kind of like one of those things where we were like given a tool, but we didn't really understand what the tool was trying to do. And that is a tough situation. So that could possibly be something like maybe at some point in the future, I might, now that I kind of am starting to understand the actual problems, I might go, oh man, it would be really nice if I had one of the state management libraries in here to take care of all this instead of me manually writing all this stuff. And that may be like a reason to kill the whole project and start from scratch again. Um, but at this point, that would be pointless because I don't really understand the problem well enough to benefit. So if I'm gonna do that, which I don't plan to do, um, but does anyone ever plan? I plan to work for a whole year on something and then just throw it all away. I don't think anyone ever plans to do that. So, anyways, I think the first step was that we came up with like there was kind of two parallel pieces of work that needed to be done. And one of the parallel pieces of work that needed to be done is we need to create and delete um, um, IDs, recyclable IDs, um, so that we can assign them here, right? So this is going to get its own ID, and then when the visualization is gone, that ID needs to be deleted, and eventually it needs to be recycled. And I was thinking upon deletion you want to recycle it, but I guess not. I guess you want to at some point. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Um, you don't want to recycle it, I don't think, until you can be sure that that ID is gone. But I mean, I think it, yeah. There's so many different things that we're creating IDs for that I think that risk of oh, I have a visual of, I think I'm pointing to an old Viz component ID that just happens to have, but there's a new Viz component and it just happens to have the same ID as the one I thought I was pointing at. I think those odds are extraordinarily low, like astronomically low, because there's so many things that we're creating IDs for. Um, so I think deleting, recycling, throwing the ID into the recycling bin to be recycled makes sense when the component is deleted. So anyways, I think I wanted, yeah, so we brought in this and we actually generate our component ID, right? And so basically when we destroy it, we want to delete our component ID. And see over here, we're doing something. And see, we're deleting a component for ID, but because we're using the ST renderer ID to determine the component for that. And so I bet you if we look in here, what we're going to do is we're going to see that we actually, yeah, see, we actually were deleting the visualization component that was on, like we were deleting that attribute. Um, and we ended up just commenting it out because it was obvious that something was screwy here. And then delete visualization for render ID. And I believe what this is doing is this is like taking care of the animations and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and go back here. And then in our recycling bin, we are going, or in our recycling service, so dot recycle sequence. And I think this is actually the first time we're actually doing this. We're actually deleting or recycling an ID. Dot st component ID. And that should basically, as we move in and out, that component ID will become, that ID will become available. I think that's what I want. And then, and we probably will want to do that after we do whatever we end up doing with this. I don't think we're going to want to do anything with this. But we do need to create some kind. Okay, so that's step one. That's done. We wanted to do two things. One is we wanted to create and delete IDs for a component when it's created, and then delete it when or recycle it when that component is deleted, and we're done with that. Mission one accomplished. Unfortunately, there's nothing really to test. I mean, I guess it makes sense to to like sort of just make sure things just work in general, that nothing um, weird has happened. It does make sense to me to run the test, because the thing is if we did it's weird that I can't imagine like we literally creating a number and deleting a number. That's it. I can't imagine how that would break anything, but if it did, it would have been really hard to fix that bug. It was just easier just to run through a quick test to make sure that everything still works. All right, so step two is for components. We need a component. We need like a component management service. That is like an Angular thing. So it seems like it belongs in this UI folder. Probably not in the UI service. I don't know what UI service is doing now, but so UI service is mostly fixated around the renderer. I think we should call it component service.spec in the UI folder. And its job will be to basically have a dictionary of the existing components so that I can, whenever I need to get a component, I can say, hey, give me this for a visualization. I could say, hey, visualization, what's the component ID? Okay, now let me go get that component. I don't know if that's the best thing to do. I really don't. This is like, sometimes you have to be creative, and that's what I'm being right now. Now, this is what we do at this point is um, and now I'm trying to even remember. Okay, so what was broken is the reflow, right? So we're in a rabbit hole. So basically, if reflow is off, and then I close this, and I come over here, and I delete this first one, then I come back over here, I need that to be sitting in the second slot, not the first slot, but it lost that, and that's because we're deleting the whole ST. And yeah, so this is a bit of a rabbit hole that we're in because we're like, oh well, we have to delete the whole ST. Which do we have to delete the whole ST? I mean, we don't have to delete the whole st. We could just like set the st the component ID to -1, and that would be the way. But we would have really no way. Yeah, I don't think right now we have any way of getting a component. We don't have a way of getting a component. The only way we have to get a component is based on its STID. Um, so we need to provide a way for us to get a component based on the component STID, not the STID, not the visualization STID. All right, so we're going to want to go into our packages. This is how I like to do this. So package.json. I find it to be, anytime I'm in package.json, I always close others. I find it to be really helpful to be able to see my old, how I created things in the past. So this is going into service UI. So we want to do like, this whole routing thing ended up causing me a lot of problems in the visualization one. Viz, um, like this whole scheme that I have for determining routes and stuff ended up happening in my voice API. It ended up breaking things on that when we were just doing distributions. Um, and that was because the routes look a little different when a application has been distributed than when it is just running in your local host. So we'll see if that comes to bite us someday in the future. Um, S current route, S component manager. Calling it a component manager, I think I normally leave that off, and I don't. That would be the only one I call a manager. So let's see. Yeah, I guess we should call it component. Just component. Service component. It's going in services, but it's going into UI. And it is going to be called component. So it's a little different when you when you use the CLI to create a component, it will actually create a whole folder. And then in that folder, it will also create oh no, I don't know if it'll create a whole folder. Actually, I don't think it creates, I don't know what it does. I can't remember. I know it doesn't work consistently in all the different things that you create. But what I'm hoping happens is that inside of UI, okay, so, well, that's kind of a bummer the way I did that. Services, UI. You know what? I'm gonna call, well, okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it is time. Anytime I have more than 4 folders in a folder, I always think to myself, okay, it's time to start thinking about um, combining. And anytime I have more than um, like once I hit like 7, I'm like, okay, we better do this now. And once I hit like 12, it's like, okay, there's no point. We have screwed this up. It's too late. Um, you can just get to the point where you've created so many references and cross references and weird things that it's going to be impossible to separate things in a reasonable way. So we are in the sweet spot right now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 folders. Um, and we uh, so we can look at this and figure out, okay, what kind of things go together. So to me, it seems like visualization seems like it might belong in utilities? No, maybe not. So it seems like visualization and UI belong together. Seems like ST, everything in ST and everything in 3 are about actual visualizations or actual entities. Would we call them entities? Things that we would draw on the screen. So we could create a folder called entities. Now, when we move this one, so now we're a whole other rabbit hole deeper, where we're like, okay, um, I need to refactor this so that because we're about out of hand. Oh, okay, so animations, like I feel like animations 3 and ST should all go together because I think they are all about things that are drawn on the screen. What is UI though? See, UI is all about the renderer too, so that one should go in there too, and visualization should go in there too. All right, so I'm going to do that. That will take care of a lot because that moves 4 things, new folder, and we're going to call this I don't know, entities. I don't know. This is a very challenging part of software development. Okay, so I'm going to move animations. Basically, this is anything that is shown on the screen. So I think. I mean, I know that 3 and ST need to go in there. And I guess, yeah, animations. We're considering an animation an entity. So those 3 need to go in there for sure. So I'm going to move this over here. And what it should offer to fix everything for me. It usually takes a little minute. Now, the other thing that's weird is I believe it will open the tabs up everywhere it made the changes, and or maybe that's what's different. I've noticed that like sometimes I think if the tab is open, it won't actually save the change, but if the tab is not open, I don't know. I'm still trying to decode that, but looks like all of that happened without any issues. Now, this is a task, and I say this every time I do it because it's just such a great thing. This is a task that was almost impossible to do, uh, before Angular or before TypeScript, I guess is a better way. So 3 goes into entities, animations goes into entities, and ST goes into entities. I almost feel like there should be like Angular or something like that. Wow, this is taking a long time. I still see the movie, and sometimes it'll actually just fail. That is not that unusual for it to just be like, just hang for hours and hours and hours and never ever come back and fix everything. Yeah, so that failed. And yeah, and I think this ePerm operation not permitted is not quite correct. Um, all right, so it did not actually make the change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill this. I think I'm going to kill Visual Studio. I think this is what I always end up having to do. Start it up again. I can't even tell you how many hours I've wasted in a job doing something along these lines. Let's close that. And what our goal is to move st into entities. And I sometimes I think I've found that it is actually um well, so it did not, maybe it will only do it while it's running. Start. So now I have found a whole bunch of stuff's going to be broken. Yeah. So basically, we're going to end up with the exact same issue. It's going to be like one of those things that you can just kind of do in your sleep once you figure it out. But basically, okay, I'm holding the shift button down and clicking this button, and it is upset about, it's not showing me what it's upset about. It's still initializing the config, the TS config. So, okay, that's weird. Oh, because, oh, the U, what? Oh, ST render service. Okay, so that is inside of entities now. Right? And I don't even know if that's a good word, but so another thing you could do at this point is you could just delete this. Hit save and then just mouse over this and usually it'll be able to fix it for you. Always takes me a second to kind of come up with a fixing scheme. Okay, so this one's wrong. It's actually a bunch are wrong. Now that's weird that, oh, it's because where we're at. Oh, okay, so I'm just going to get rid of all those. Hit save. Click on this blue one, click on this, click on this blue one. At least make, just kind of put an eyeball on it, make sure it's pulling it from the right place. Save. Now, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, this is probably about like a 3 and oh my God, look at all these. A 3 in difficultness. Um, okay, so we are currently in ST. So what we need, I think, is that the, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what we need. We need to add, because it's gotten a layer deeper. There's a way to configure it, configure the application to be able to find these things so you don't have to have all these deep paths. But is this one wrong? And this is also in ST. So basically we took it and moved it a layer lower. So, okay, material service. What's the problem? Here we go. I believe I have it in my clipboard. Yep. You don't even really, it's kind of weird. Like you could like, you don't want to do that sort of zombie work like what I'm doing right now too long, but man, it can be so much faster than having to like think through everything. Um, but you will if you do it for like more than maybe 15 or 20 minutes in a stretch. It can make the world seem very numb to you, you know. So you really want to like kind of be a little bit more aware of what's happening. Um, it's always a very bad thing when everyone just sort of drops into into like a mindless march. but I am mindlessly marching at this point. Ooh, well, it did not seem to fix it. Are we okay? So we are okay. So it's the other way around now. We have our what I thought before. ST. I believe we added entities here, right? It's not making it easy though. Okay, so let's just go ahead and delete these two and kind of go back to the other mechanism. Okay, what? Oh, I wish I kind of wish I'd have paid attention. So we didn't. I think what we did was we actually dropped one back. Oh, cause yeah, I don't know. Don't know exactly what we were trying to do there. Okay, so we are sitting in Viz right now, and I don't know. ST render service Viz. So I think this one needs to be in entities, but maybe last time it was just this. Yeah, that wasn't right. I think we need to add that entities in there somewhere. Yeah. Yep. So that entities was what we needed to add right after services. All right. Same thing. Right after services, we need to add entities. And really, honestly, like the only reason I'm like going, oh, instead of just deleting things and hitting the blue arrow everywhere, is literally because I'm trying to maintain my brain. That's it. It really is like it's just a personal health decision. Um, and because if you don't maintain your brain, nobody else will. All right, so now we've moved this, we've created our services, we've moved entities in there. Oh, okay, we want to move three over. I think we should kill this. It would fix it for us, but we've seen that like once it gets a little dicey, it just kind of crashes, and I'd rather just do what we just did. I'm gonna delete everything but packages. All right, now we are going to move three into entities. So now it is trying to move it. It's trying to go through that whole thing. So I think maybe what happened before is when I stopped it and started it and moved it, um, it whatever process is running hadn't loaded yet, and now it is loaded, and so it's trying to do whatever it's trying to do, and it's probably going to fail. Um, so, and when that happens, my personal experience is that the best thing you can do is just kill the editor, bring it back, see what happens, and I guess quickly do the move. It, oh, yeah. So it's saying that it doesn't have permissions or something like that. Okay, so let's just try that again. See what happens. Boom, boom. Close this. Move this up here. Yeah. See, it moves right over. Now when npm start, it'll start up again. And I mean, I'll tell you, I've come up with these sort of little schemes for getting things done. and it like really makes people mad. Like it makes people, they almost feel like you're like, I didn't create whatever it is that breaks, but it's like they think you created it, but it's like, man, I mean, I don't like it either. Okay, so saying there's something wrong on line 7. Okay, so this is back to the adding another layer deep, I think. Oh, oh, there's 2 of them. They're messed up. Line 7. So, oh, okay, so this is the, yeah, I don't know what that is. Let's see. Render service, visualization service. I don't know what complaint is. All right, I didn't even pay attention. Let's see. Scene service. It can't find scene service. Where's my blue thing? Blue thing is back here. Oh, there you are. 3. I think it added another dot, or maybe it got rid of a double dot. I don't know. Man, this has got a bunch. Okay, this is still, this is in the render service, which is an ST, which is inside of entities. So like that. Ah, that was a bit of a guess. We'll see. Camera service. Oh, you know what it is? Is that these things got broken when I moved things, and it fixed it to the new location, and then it broke again because then I moved a new thing, because I didn't do them all in one big sweep. No, that's not right. Okay, 3 aspect ratio dictionary. I love you too. Okay, so we are broken in the 3 camera service, and it's upset because it can't find the triple in the base. So we moved one deeper, so that is probably the most like mentally satisfying thing right there. Like when you can just like look at something and just be like, oh, okay, and fix it. All right, so I think that mesh service is not as deep as it used to be. That I don't quite understand, but and then geometry service is not as deep as it used to be. You used to have to go back 3 and then back up, or back up 3 to find it, and then to 3, and now I only have to go back 2. Oh, wrong one. That one was already good. Material service. Say I have like a 40%, 50% understanding of what I just did there. Um, okay, so inside the geometry service, it needs to find something in the base, which is 1 deeper now than it used to be. So inside the material service, ST material service has to find something in the ST in the 3 service, 3 material inner service. So it's not as far away. It used to be farther away. That's weird. Okay, the same. Now it's just more of a pattern. Like I think I was fully understanding what was happening there. Now I've sort of entered into like a pattern recognition mode. Like if I see the 3 up there and I'm in an ST, then that means, and probably animation as well, then that means I just need to uh, that they are closer to each other now than they used to be. They used to be like far. You used to have to go farther back to find a common tree, I guess. Okay, so we are in Viz service. See, I think this is the entities. I need to add entities here. Yeah. And again, there's probably from a productivity perspective, it was probably faster just to like push the buttons. But um, the from your own mental, first of all, if you're a developer and you're getting stuff done at a fairly fast rate, you're probably finishing things faster than like QA and the BAs and all that can keep up with. So like, taking a little bit of time for your own mental clarity and for your own mental so that everything kind of fits together better structurally in your brain um, is a very good investment for everybody, your company, yourself, your family, everybody, you know. So, all right, so we did that full refactor. That was a rabbit hole. Now, let's go back to services and say, since we're in the middle of refactoring services, I think it makes sense to, okay, see, I think it makes so much sense for entities to be animation, ST, and 3. Now, why do I have a UI service? Right? Like, what the heck? And the UI service exists, it seems to be handling visualizations and renderers. And it seems to have my ST renderer service, ST renderer interface, and visualization. So that's the 3. So it just seems to be sort of like based on the imports, it seems to be sort of a go between the visualization service and the renderer service. It's kind of what it seems like it's doing. And it seems to manage 2 signals. One of them is a bunch of renderer IDs and a bunch of renderers signals. So, and there's something really goofy about this one. And I call it a UI service. So I would say this seems like a UI utility. So I almost feel like, so see, this is route. So we have, yeah, a platform and all that. Yeah, so to me it seems like this UI service goes into here. But this thing's already doing 1, 2, 3, 4 things. So this is utilities. Yeah, it seems like I want to do this. New folder, route, routing, right? Like this is a routing service. And then move this into here. Now, this is something you absolutely cannot do when you're working on your own stuff. You just can't. Okay, so you noticed we had this open already, and it seems like it but it didn't save it. So it made changes in here, but it didn't save it. And then we have an import that apparently we're not using at all. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of all that. So I'm just going to stop this and start it. And this is really something that you need to do all the time, but it's, like I said, almost impossible to do. So this is a platform service. So let's see, what does this thing do? So this is dealing with, oh, okay. So this is dealing with like resizing, and I guess that's about it. So, so this is about, it's weird that I called it platform service, but this is about resizing is or positioning. This is a positioning folder. Platform. So we'll call this platform. Probably should be positioning service would be a lot easier to name it. So since there's not much going on, it doesn't seem to break things for some reason. I don't really know why. Whenever you do that, but when there's a whole bunch, okay, and so these are general. So now, if you're very early in your application that you're working and you kind of want to do something like this, do it. Um, if you wait on doing something like this, you will get to a point where you cannot do it. And then life can be very uncomfortable. Okay, and so visualization. This one is a weirdo. Oh wait, no, okay, so that's it for utilities. Okay, so visualization, think I had decided this was like kind of a oh, this is not. What is this guy doing? Okay, visualizations. It is all visualization stuff. I guess a visualization is in fact an entity. All right, so I think this one needs to go over to the entities world. That's going to put four things in entities, which is fine. Four things is when I start to consider refactoring. And again, this is such a luxury because you cannot do this when you work in an organization. You will screw everybody over if you do this. Okay, so now we've got our entities, we got this app model, we got UI. Okay, so what does app model do? Okay, so basically it keeps track of like I think stuff happening at the application level. So that would be like if I wanted to keep track of whether menus were open or not, stuff like that. Okay, so I think that that makes sense in its own world. And then UI, what are you doing? This is the one that's sort of an oddball. And I have a feeling, I think it's something that we only created because I couldn't inject something because I was getting circular references. So this one is an oddball. I'm just going to leave it at there. All right, so now we wanted to add a new one and its components. Is a component an entity? I don't think so. I think a component is part of Angular. I feel like we should create an Angular service that anything that's just very, very specific to Angular. So, or Angular folder. And then inside of the Angular folder, I want to create a component service. And I don't know about this. This might end up being really weird. Um, I have a very like 33% chance, in my opinion, that this ends up being like something like, what the F was I thinking? All right, so UI, so it's no longer UI. This is services, Angular, and component. And I guess I guess it should be Viz component because this is about Viz component. I may end up adding like some kind of thing to track other parts, other components within the application. So I think that makes sense to call it Viz component because I wouldn't be surprised if I say layout component in the future. And then I kind of think maybe that's where the, who is it? In the services, that might be where UI goes, or maybe is it this visualization? I don't know. But anyways, so Angular Viz component, boom, and then open up a different table, run npm run s component, and then that's going to create me an Angular Viz component. So I think I could talk about it now, but as of yesterday, I my old job is over. Not over. Like I'm gonna still be working on the same stuff in the same place, but I will not be a contractor anymore. They are bringing me on. They brought me on full time yesterday, which is amazing. I worked so hard. I've never worked so hard to become a full time employee anywhere, but it's really nice. It's just a great job, and really, it's important. It's an important job. It's like, uh, it's just a super important job. It's important that the work I get done be done and be properly done, be well done. And I'm very excited about that. So tomorrow I'll be a full-time employee. Um, you're gonna have like all the benefits and everything that comes with being a full-time employee. And I'm 100%, I believe, I have not been told, so 100% is not correct. But I personally believe that it has a lot to do with the H-1B thing. Not that the organization that I work with hires H-1B people. I do not believe they hire H-1Bs because the organization I work for is the state of Georgia. And I don't believe the state of Georgia hires H-1Bs, or at least not for like sort of the kind of work that I'm doing. And what I mean by that is like I work directly with legislation and stuff like that. But I do think that they sensed that the competition for developers was about to get American born, legally American working developers was about to get more intense. And that is true because I've gotten, let's say, 3 phone calls from past employers. Some of them that I didn't even work for in like the last 15 years. That have been like, hey, we'd love for you to come back, come work for us, blah blah blah. And it's just like, oh, no, thank you. Because as soon as they get an opportunity, they're going to do exactly what, like, they fired me because they ran me off, made my life miserable, and ran me off because they had felt like they could get a cheaper deal, and now they can't. Now they're like in a bind. They're losing all their resources. So now they're like, "Oh, please come back." But they'll figure out other ways in the future. So I'm very, very happy. I'm very, yeah, just excited and thrilled about it. Um, but anyways, so we got that. Entities, Angular is component service. All right, so this is, we'll just put a little comment here. Um, uh, keeps track of Viz components. Um, so by ID. So basically, we're going to have like a getter, a setter, and a dictionary, and that's really all that's going to be here. Dictionary, and basically, um, whenever this will keep a reference to the actual Angular component, and then whenever that Angular component gets deleted, um, it will delete in here. It won't have a reference to that anymore. Um, and then Um, the next thing that will happen will be that oh, then I need to update the whatever I have code that is retrieving components. I need to update it to only retrieve it from this thing and not from where it's currently retrieving it, which I don't even know how oh, it's retrieving it by STID. And then we need to figure out, okay, now why when we do a delete, when we delete one of these, why the ST visualization is being deleted. And then undo that. Whatever was deleting that visualization needs to go needs to leave the visualization alone and only delete the component ID um, from that visualization. So basically, this will have a dictionary that lets you look up um, by component ID the component. The visualization has a component ID in there. So anytime I need the component ID for a visualization, I mean the component for a visualization, I need to get the component ID off of it and then ask this for it. And then this will, if there happens to be one, it'll return it. And I think that then hopefully the flow will be fixed because we won't be losing it. We won't be yeah, we won't it won't be gone. It won't be getting deleted as we move things out. And that's a big hope. You know, we don't know exactly what's going on there. But anyways, so yeah, we're moving along. Pretty big refactor here. Ended up going into services and realizing that they were about to get out of whack. We have one, two, three, four, five services. So at this point, it makes sense to just put a little bit of thought of, hey, you know, what should we combine here? Um, I think right now with five, we're pretty well isolated. I think UI could possibly belong inside of entities since it is only dealing with entities. Um, maybe entities needs like another section that then the UI goes into. This app model seems to be the only thing, but it seems like its purpose is to keep track of what's going on in the overall application. Um, so that is something that will probably need to be in its own folder. I think it's a standalone thing. Utilities seems like, hey, that's utilities. So this one I feel like is in the right place. This one, maybe not. Maybe this Angular and entities and UI need to be in a folder of some kind. And then, but anyways, I don't feel like when you have five, you necessarily have enough of a variation to properly um, separate things. Like um, you just not quite enough variation. But we're, but I think it's really nice the way it is right now. Um, I don't like like if I was working in if we weren't in getting started. So getting started to me, we're gonna stay on this getting started branch until we're to the point where I'm like, okay, I could work with somebody else with this. Right now, I would never be able to make these sorts of changes if I was working with somebody else because man, I just really like files that they might have been working on may be gone now. And completely moved to another place, and stuff like that. So, anyways, yeah, this sort of little arc of work is an absolute mess because we're just in one rabbit hole after another. Um, but like, there's kind of two things that's happening to me on a personal basis that are affecting this. One is I'm trying to become much more um, architectural in mindset. So like I would never have done any of these things in the past, but I'm trying to think in more of an architectural way. So I am making mistakes and sort of having to undo mistakes. I think that's one of the big things. And then the other thing is that um, I've never really been particularly concerned about um, memory leaks in the past. I mean, something I was aware of and I would try to avoid, but I never was too concerned. Now I've become ultra concerned about it. I don't know if that's going to pay off in the end or not. I think it will. I think that this is going to be like one of those applications where a lot of people go like, I don't know why, but like there's like 5 or 6 applications like this, and this one is the only one that doesn't crash all the time, and it's because of this early memory thing. And it's kind of a nice thing because if this is in fact truly a what I think it is, then it's not even like something like if somebody else had built on their own, built something like somebody's clearly other people are working on these exact same problems. We all hit the same problems. We all need a way to create three.js visualizations without having to write a bunch of Three.js code. Um, that we all know that. That's what we're all trying to work on. There's probably a couple hundred people around the world working on this. The thing that will differentiate this from the other couple hundred probably may very well be that this one doesn't have a bunch of memory leaks. So, anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.